The Lochinver Station has been sold to a foreign buyer, a Shanghai Pengjin. And I want to ask, this is a big issue in election year, foreign ownership of our farmland and our land. What do you think? So you first, Chris Hipkins, what do you think about this?
Well, John Key said a couple of years ago that New Zealanders ran the risk of becoming tenants in our own land, and the national government then made a big song and dance about changing the rules in order to prevent farm sales to overseas buyers, and those rules haven't made one jot of difference. They haven't blocked one single sale.
So Winston Peters pledges that he'll buy back the land. You're very strong on this. Will you pledge to do the same?
Oh, we're not talking about buying back, but we are saying that we will restrict future sales of land to overseas buyers, and it will only happen if it's in New Zealand's best economic interest to do so.
So what does that mean, though? What does that actually mean?
Well, it means that you'll have to demonstrate, if you're coming in to buy land in New Zealand, you'll have to demonstrate that it's in New Zealand's best economic interests to do so, because we don't want to become tenants in our own country.
Is it xenophobic?
No, not at all, because it's only xenophobic if you're picking out one particular nationality. We're not. We're saying, it's actually about all overseas buyers' investment in New Zealand land.
Including James Cameron, including people like that who...
Absolutely. Yeah. It includes everybody.
All right. What do you think? Is it xenophobic?
Well, it can be if you look at the fact that only 4% of overseas buyers of rural properties are Chinese. I think Chris misses a really important point here. We did tighten the rules in 2010. Overseas buyers already have to demonstrate both an economic benefit to New Zealand, trade benefits, employment and environmental sustainability of their purchase. We've seen a reduction in the purchase from 90,000 hectares a year under Labor to 39,000 under National. It's less than half. So I think our restrictions in 2010 have tightened those criteria.
The restrictions made no difference at all. The restrictions only applied to a farm that's 10 times the size of an average farm, and there haven't been any sales in that category, so it hasn't made any difference at all.
What do you think about this? What do the Greens think about this?
Yeah, I mean, we agree that it needs to be restricted to New Zealand citizens and permanent residents. And also, I think, when you're talking about farmland, this is our most productive land, and it's a really core part of our economic well-being is our farmland. And when we have speculators coming in and making profit off it from overseas, it puts it out of reach for ordinary New Zealand farmers.
But John Key said if the process has been followed and it's legal, what's wrong with it?
Well,
what's the big deal? If it's providing jobs and it was open to all. I mean, a New Zealand buyer could have bought it.
So I'm not at all convinced that a sale like this does provide jobs, because what a lot of these overseas companies are doing are buying up right from the paddock to the plate. Every stage in between is owned by overseas owners, and so in terms of economic benefit to New Zealand, there's very little. We have cut out of the process altogether.
What about Crayford Farms, where now under foreign ownership, you have a dramatic improvement in the running of those farms, a dramatic improvement?
Well, that was an extreme case. You couldn't have had it much worse in terms of how they were being run before they were sold. So I don't think that's a fair example. But what we would like to see is Landcorp looking at purchasing these farms and then dividing them up and making them available for New Zealand farmers to purchase, because actually we'd like to see more ordinary New Zealand farming families owning their own farms.
We'll come back to the panel soon, but let's go to Damien.
I'm here with David Broom from Federated Farmers. Just before we get started, do foreign owners of farms, are they members of Federated Farmers?
Oh, we've got plenty of members who actually are from overseas. Some of them actually are still foreign citizens. Others have become Kiwis. And look...
Chinese people?
Oh, I imagine we've got a few Chinese as well. We've got Indians, we've got Filipinos as well. So, it's
a broad church.
Oh, look, the thing is that it's always intriguing when you hear politicians talk about an industry as though, they're sort of like one step removed from everything. This is not our land. This land tends to be owned by people as well. So you've got to respect that people do have a property right in this. The other thing which I just...
we could restrict who they sell it to, though, couldn't we? Well, are we at risk of becoming... If all the farmland in New Zealand was owned by people who live overseas, would that be a bad thing?
Well, the problem we've got is...
Would it be a bad thing?
Well, we don't actually know, Damien. Like, this is the biggest thing we come here, and this is why Federated Farmers is a position of wanting to actually have a register of land holdings in New Zealand. Our cobbers across the Tasman are doing it under the Abbott-led government. It's taking a wee bit longer than they thought, but they are getting there. Because the fact is that when people start talking about foreign ownership, no one actually knows. Like I imagine if you did the research and you found out that ownership was, say, 2%, people might go, oh, that's okay. If it's 95%, we'd have a few problems here. You've got to remember that New Zealand farming, we're the Palo Alto and the Hollywood of farming. We're the hothouse. This is the place that people come because we attract the best farmers in the world. And a lot of those people may come here as investors, but they become citizens.